Yo, what's up, everyone? Came in like a ghost. What's up? It's gonna be a fun week. We got cool. We got me. We got the NFL genius. I'm pretty sure we know we're not happy Eagles fans right now. That's pretty easy to say here, right? So we got a lot going on. Cool from the Eagles Elite podcast. We got Gene from Wire to Wire and a million other shows. I can't keep up with all of Gene, but Wire to Wire is the main one you want to catch him at. And I'm the Godfrey. But Gene, tell him who you are. Start us off with a bang.
Me! Woo! Gene.
That's
So
quite a start.
Quite a start.
I am surprisingly in a surprisingly optimistic mood tonight. I am. And you might think I'm crazy, and that's okay. That's all right. Two things happened on Wednesday, and I want to talk about them.
My
Number
show.
one, well, obviously your show.
Just kidding.
But AJ Brown spoke to the media, and I've never been so invigorated by a guy. Listen, let me tell you something right now. I'm going to apologize to Cool for earlier in the season. Cool, I'm sorry, sir.
It's okay. I understand.
After hearing this man speak,
things, and that's why he needed to come out and talk. So I'm glad he came out and talked.
After hearing this man speak, I genuinely felt like they're going to get it together. And the comments that, and the most important comments were the comments that he made about Nick Sirianni. Because whether we like the way this team's being coached or not, I hate it right now. Absolutely hate it. I think that I'm invigorated. I'm interested. I'm bought in to the notion that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to turn it around after that press conference. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my opinion, that after the game, the blow up, they had a huge fight argument Monday. They sat A.J. Brown down in the office, whether maybe Tuesday morning, could be Monday afternoon. They had a whole conversation with them. They had a great conversation, and I feel like that the team as a whole had a meeting. I don't know, could be closed doors.
No, they had a meeting. Yeah, they did.
But I feel like after they had their meeting, I felt like they came out of that meeting like all for one for all, us against the world type attitude, the mentality. When I heard A.J. Brown's press conference, it was like all in the world is right. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I think that their coordinators as a whole are not good enough. I think that their coach right now is not good enough. I think they need improvement in a lot of places. But I honestly and truly believe, and this is a sneak peek of Godfrey's toys, his pills. I don't know what they're.
Hey, they kind of came out of nowhere, man. I was a little
That's
shocked
wild.
about
But I think that there was a really nice.
I'm working off an Android tablet, so that's how banged up in the game I am with technology. So.
It was a great presser, bro. It was a great presser. Cool. What were your thoughts on the presser? What are your thoughts? Obviously, we're going to get in the grades and we're going to talk about that embarrassment of a game versus Arizona. But I'm surprisingly optimistic right now.
So I am cautiously optimistic, but I'm that way every week because I am a homer. Okay. So there's never going to be a time where I'm like, oh, the Eagles just suck and, there's nothing we can do. We can't do this. We can't do that. Talent-wise, we have the ability to win a Super Bowl. Coaching-wise is where our issue is. And I don't think anybody would agree with that unless you're just one of those Arlington football team clowns and maybe one of those Santa Clara football team jokes because, everything's been breaking for y'all pretty much so far. But here's the thing. All jokes aside, AJ's a leader in that locker room. I also, besides listening to that, wow, that's a big difference. I also was listening to Darius Slay. And Slay was talking about how at the end of the day, AJ is one of the leaders in that locker room. He's one of the people that everybody looks up to. We know I've gotten on Slay on the show, and I'm getting a little off topic because you said pretty much everything needs to be said about AJ Brown, right? He did what he needed to do. So I like what Slay was saying when I listened to his podcast. He was talking about how we got to hit more, we got to wrap up, we got to make plays, we got to do things that make sense, and those are the issues, right? And I think that him being there, it was his birthday, but he was still there at the game. So him being there, him seeing, him being able to be on the side and see how the things look. Hopefully, when he gets back in, he could take that to the field and be like, all right, this is what I saw. Let me help try to get some guys in the right position. I don't think Slay is as good as his pro football focus rating, but I don't think he's a bad corner, right? I think he's a solid number one corner. He's more to the end of his career than the beginning. My biggest issue, and AJ Brown slightly touched on this, is getting everybody involved, right? They're a team for a reason. If you're giving guys roster spots, let them play. If they're not good enough to play, put them on the practice squad and go get somebody else or cut them.
So, Godfrey, I just want to hear your thoughts on the reaction to the AJ Brown presser. I also listened to Brandon Graham speak on 94. I listened to Jason Kelsey speak this week. And Brandon Graham seems to think with Cunningham and Darius Slay coming back this week, he seems to think that it's going to solve a lot of their problems. He all but said, I never heard Brandon Graham throw a player under the bus as much as he did in this presser. Not presser, he was on 94 from 6 to 7. He basically said that Zach Cunningham stepping in for Nicholas Morrow will fix the linebacking in the middle of the field. He always said that. I never heard he do that to someone.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I completely agree. 1,000,000,000,000,000%. Him and Josh Jobe.
Nicholas Morrow is terrible, bro.
Josh Jobe and Nicholas Morrow should not be in Philadelphia Eagles jerseys. The memories of them in Philadelphia should be burnt.
I've never seen a linebacker play worse than Nicholas Morrow. I watched the Ravens play the Dolphins. I'm like, oh, wow, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith. This is what a linebacker group looks like. This is exciting. Godfrey, what are your thoughts on the presser? What are your thoughts on the Eagles? And then we'll get into grades.
I heard a lot of pressers. Heard Jordan Mailata talk twice. He was on WIP twice in one day for two separate shows. He was on the BG show, or the Brandon Graham show. He was on earlier with I believe Ike Reese. And, that's why I felt the thing was overplayed, that quote unquote Nick was losing in the locker room. And, you hear AJ talking. I don't get that sense. But I respect AJ for the way he came out. And that's why I kind of didn't want to be like, he's selfish, because I want my alpha receiver to act like that. He wants the ball. He wants to win. I want the guy who wants the ball. And it was good that he cleared things up. But I think really there's a scheme problem. There's a talent problem. It's a talent problem, middle linebacker, when Zach Cunningham's out, and you can't put anybody in there to even hold half of the water that guy had. And Zach Cunningham's a nice running back, but linebacker, but we're not saying he's an all pro here, right? But he's a big upgrade from Nicholas Morrow. And, the Eagles philosophically for years, they're never going to prioritize that position. So I love the Ravens and watching their linebackers, but we ain't, unless there's a philosophical shift in the organization, they're never going to put that kind of money or resources into that position that the Ravens have. And so when I look at this team, it's funny that the Ravens come up, because I do see a comparison a lot about how the Ravens won the Super Bowl that year and they lost 4 out of 5 at the end of the year. I keep hearing that comparison a lot. They switched a defensive coordinator that same year. Keep hearing that comparison a lot. I hope it plays out that way, but we don't have a Hall of Famer in Ray Lewis on our team of that caliber, so it's not exactly a real comparison. That does make a difference. There's not a Terrell Suggs on this team, so that does make a difference. But with that being said, I'm optimistic, but I'm starting to be in the mode of believe what your eyes see, right? And what my eyes see is there's some coaching. From the coaching standpoint, I don't think he's losing the team. I think he doesn't have enough of a grip on the team. He needs to be more of a firm coach, more of a conservative coach, and not let them have as much leeway as he is letting them have, in my opinion. Okay. I'll give you an example. You might disagree with this, Gene, but I was looking at a breakdown of Jordan Davis by Brian Baldinger. He's not playing good. You're not getting enough out of these guys. I don't want to hear the tiredness from these guys that when you build in the trenches like that, they must perform when they're drafted that high. He was talking about his weight, his effort, and Fletcher Cox in turn is playing more snaps than he needs to play. And this is a ripple effect on the line. And another thing I noticed is Derek Barnett. Not saying he's great, but he has looked decent, although against subpar teams for the Texans. I think he has several pressures. He's been looking good there in a rotational sense.
Well, Godfrey, before you finish, because I don't want you to glaze over the Jordan Davis line without me replying. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter have played more snaps this year than they've ever played in their life. They have hit the wall. They have hit the rookie wall.
Davis is second year. He's not a rookie no more.
Sir.
Okay, Gene, I'm gonna hop in right here for you. I'm gonna hop in right here for you, Gene. I'm gonna let you get back, but I'm gonna just hop in and clean that up for you real quick. Jordan Davis, as Gene was just saying, did not play the entire year last year because of injury. So he does not have the same amount of play. So this is the most he's played as an NFL player. Same with Jalen Carter. The problem is they're having these guys overplay. You can say you don't want to hear tiredness, but then you need to close your ears. Because if you're not going to acknowledge that tiredness is a part of somebody not playing at the same level that they played in before, when you got an offense that doesn't run the ball and makes you in 3 and out, and keep you on the field more than you need to be, those things have to be taken into consideration.
Cool. You said it perfectly earlier in the year. Cool. You said it perfect. Cool. You said it perfectly earlier in the year when you said that they lacked depth, and I kind of glazed over it because I'm like, all right, they shouldn't lack depth. They have 4 defensive tackles. They have 4 edge rushers, but they didn't use them enough earlier in the season to be able to keep them fresh. And then when Fletch got injured and missed a game, and when Jalen got injured and missed a game, and when Jordan got injured and missed a game, all these guys got overplayed, and they got overplayed in the middle. Godfrey.
I wildly disagree. Okay. Listen, I'm going based off analysis and film that pro players and former pro players have put out. The analysis on Jordan Davis is he's wildly out of shape. Not he's tired.
That's not everybody's analysis. That's a group of jackoffs analysis. That's not everybody's analysis.
I'm Baldinger on this. He goes on film. He doesn't take shots at anybody. He goes strictly on the film. And if you look on the film, you're ignoring it. People are covering their eyes up. I believe what I see. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm not saying he can't be good. I'm saying right now he's not in good form. And they're saying he's out of shape, and that's how it's showing on the field. Now, if he's not out of shape and he is in shape, then what is it? It's just because he's hitting a rookie wall, and then we're going to overplay Fletcher Cox. Now, then that goes to Howie. Howie should have saw that coming then, and then maybe we had some more depth, right? Whoever it is, it's sloppy to me. There's a lot of sloppy play, and I don't see it in other teams like that are supposed to be on the caliber the Eagles are in. And, I just even like watching that game, we'll get into. I mean, come on, man. Like they were, how are they gassed against this team? Like it was embarrassing. The Cardinals didn't even punt. They didn't even punt. How?
So just to be clear, and you're kind of getting away from what we're talking about. Jordan Davis, and this is just over the course of a season, right? And maybe it's gotten worse the last few weeks, and that's okay. But he's number 8 in the NFL in defensive tackle run stop win rate. He's double teamed on 52% of his snaps. 52% on rushing plays, he's double teamed. Jalen Carter is one of the top defensive tackles in the league in defensive tackle pass rush win rate, and he's double teamed Jalen Carter on 59% of passing plays. They both rank top 10 in the NFL in those categories.
Isn't getting double team a defensive tackle part of the position?
It is part of the position.
Okay.
But my point being is when you get double teamed and beat up all year and you haven't played enough snaps, you've never played this many snaps in your life. Jordan Davis is about, this is not a joke, right? I looked at it the other day. He's about 74 snaps above his career average. No, his career high in snaps. He has 74 more snaps than his career high right now. Jalen Carter has 117 more snaps than his career high right now. And when you're double teamed at more than a 50% rate by NFL linemen, you're going to slow down. I'm not saying it's not their fault. I just think the people that are calling these guys busts are really just not looking at that aspect of the game.
I'm not saying they're a bust. I realize.
think-
I think that they're not in good form right now, and it's
we all agree.
they're not.
Whether
It's
they're
the
tired.
reasoning.
Yeah.
I think it's that what Gene said. The thing is, we're having people going in and pulling out particular plays. Hey, look at these 7 plays. Look at how Jordan Davis looks on these 7 plays. But there's no context.
See, the problem is this, right? You guys are calling out Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. The biggest disappointment on that defensive line is neither one of them. For the last 5 weeks, Josh Sweat has been non-existent, and I pulled up. I'm ready to feed you. Can we start with defense for grades?
We sure can.
I've given the defense an F-. It's the worst grade I could possibly give them. Worst, okay? So I pulled up the Eagles PFF grades for the game. So the only Eagles defensive players that scored in the top 10 on their on PFF for the game were Brandon Graham, who didn't play enough snaps, Sidney Brown, who didn't play enough snaps, Moru Ojamu, who played 6 snaps, and Jalen Carter. That's it. They're the only ones. Now, the worst 3, obviously, number 1 was Avonte Maddox, who got beat like he stole something. He was terrible.
And that's why his backup should have still been active, because you know it's going to take at least a couple of weeks for him to get back in football shape.
And then Josh Sweat, who was second worst on the team. Now, third worst was Ben Summerlin, who didn't play a ton of snaps. But fourth worst at a 41 grade, terrible grade. A guy we all praised last week, and I said, slow down. He has his good games and he has his bad games. And that was none other than Kelee Ringo. Kelee Ringo got beat like he stole something. And when you look at the Eagles' worst 4 defenders by PFF rankings, I don't disagree with any of them. Sweat was non-existent. He's been non-existent for weeks. 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Avonte Maddox, his first game back, he was terrible. He got shredded all across.
He's been out there as much as he was.
I agree.
Is he injured again? Is he on IR, or is he just?
No, he's good.
Okay.
Last I heard, he's good.
And then Ben Summerlin, who doesn't play enough.
Mm-hmm.
But they were the worst 4 players on the Eagles defense. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I love the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm gonna have their back fully. I feel like they can right the shift. But I'm telling you something right now. We all looked at Kelee Ringo as a guy like, oh, when Slay comes back, should we even play Bradbury? Or should we start Kelee Ringo?
I didn't.
Well, that's what I heard from multiple people. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Kelee Ringo is hot and cold. If he has a matchup that he can lock the guy up, he's hot. This past week, even that the game-tying touchdown before the onside kick, he was flat-footed. He was terrible. He didn't even move. One of the worst cornerback performances I've ever seen. And that's what you expect from a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great week 2 weeks ago. Terrible week this week. Avonte Maddox comes back. They picked on that man so much.
Because I knew he wasn't in shape. And I'm with you. We could combine ours. I'm trying to go E. I'm trying to go G, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to go G. That defense did not make them punt once the entire game. The people that they named, I could have picked at least 3 of those people out just from watching the game without seeing any grades. And this is why I've been moaning and whining all year. Why can't we get the young corners in to get some snaps in games? Why can't we get them some reps so they're prepared for injuries? We got 2 aging corners. They shouldn't be playing as many snaps as they're playing at this point in their career. You should be getting other guys in. And I'm not saying you have to replace those guys this season, but I'm saying why not start getting other guys reps? That was my biggest complaint with Desai. I said I don't hear many times. I don't know if it was a combination of Desai leaving and Slay getting injured that Ricks and Ringo started to get, more work. We also saw, we also had a sighting of Nolan Smith. We even, Van Summeren got in and got some snaps. He wouldn't have got snaps if Desai was there. We know he wouldn't. So my thing is, I like that some of those other guys are getting them, but let's realize that we didn't do what we were supposed to. We failed them as a coaching staff the first 10 or so weeks of the season, and acknowledge that and work with them on these things. Because if you're trying to do anything, which you say you are, you're going to need those guys to be able to play some meaningful snaps. You're going to need everybody on there. Ojomo should be playing. We got a lot of guys on that bench that should be playing. Tupeluto should be getting some snaps.
Just
in the rotation.
Question for you. What defensive interior lineman do you think played the most snaps for the Eagles without looking?
I'm gonna probably go with I'm gonna guess Cox without looking.
That's fine. What's your guess, Godfrey?
I'm gonna guess Cox as well.
Cox was second on the team in snaps. First on the team in snaps,
It had to be Carter then.
Milton Williams.
Milton, okay.
Milton Williams is the most snaps on the team. Oh, for defensive line. Let me ask you another question. Take another stab at it. How many snaps do you think Nicholas Morrow played? Out of a possible 76.
53.
Okay.
I was going to say 55.
75. He missed one snap. Zach Cunningham, Shaq Leonard played 39. Ben Summeren 14. Patrick Johnson 1. Nicholas Morrow played every snap on the defense except one.
So I was going to guess everybody give an F, right? I mean, there's F minus. There's not that we didn't even need to give a grade because we all knew. That's my thing. Like, Cole, you bring up good points, and I know Jordan Davis isn't by far the biggest problem on this defense. The reason why I bring him up is how, if he's going to construct a team this way, knowing that people could possibly hit a rookie wall because of lack of snaps, he has to better construct depth. We were all celebrating him at the beginning of the season, and at the end, I think he's done a horrible job when I look at the body of work. When I look at the coaches, I think there's a lot of long-term potential, but I think the coaches, and this stems back to the offense too, we'll talk about it. I think they give the players a little bit too much freedom, right? And Desai, not putting in these younger players, I think he was coaching scared, right? So you see Patricia getting there, and he's putting some of the younger guys in. Why is that? Because he has experience, right? Desai was not giving these guys chances to get some legs under them, make some plays. Maybe you don't put Maddox out there as much. Maybe you don't have Bradbury out there.
Maddox only had 29 snaps. 29 was, but probably 15 too many.
He still left the game injured. He's not. That's why
it's at least 10. It's at least 10 too many.
That's a small portion of it. But when I look at this coaching staff, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, when I hear, we'll get into the offense and AJ's comments in relation to that, but I think they give them a little bit too much decision-making ability when some players haven't earned it yet. Fletcher Cox, you've earned it, right? Guys like that have earned it. You know what I mean? And so I'm getting.
There's a really bad, like scratching sound. I'm just trying to figure out where it's coming from, guys.
Get my grade and come back in and come back out. But I'm a minus F, but I will tell you that I really think at the end of the day, this defense is, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's personnel and scheme. And and I'm not blaming the rookies because I think the rookies still have to develop.
I can't even hear him.
Yeah, we can't even hear you.
I gotta take him out. I can't hear him. He's just it's coming through. Let's move on to Mr. Nick Sirianni and the offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Where do you have Nick Sirianni and Ben Johnson?
I'm gonna give them a D.
Okay. They did put up 31 points.
Well, they didn't put up 31 points because
our defense got a pick six.
The defense did get 6 of them, but they ran the ball some, not enough, but at least they made an adjustment an adaptation to run the ball more. I'm being generous with the D based on that.
I look at it as a whole, and I'll give them a D also. And I was just trying to like look positively the fact that they scored 31 points, but I give them a D also. I think it was embarrassing. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think that the drive that they had after the onside kick was something that I can't even fathom how that happened. Like, I thought that was just like, what are we doing, right? We get the pass to AJ Brown, then we run the ball, get a holding call, and then it's 1st and 20. For the game on the line, you run QB power, QB draw, and then bubble screen.
And get Smitty hurt on a stupid bubble screen that should have never been called.
To Gainwell. Why are we calling bubble screens to Gainwell or to it's just I can't watch it sometimes. I can't watch it.
So I got a different perspective. I heard on a couple of different shows because I heard it one time and I was like, huh? The Cardinals were very smart. They onside kicked on purpose to give us less field.
Yep.
And then we went down and did exactly what they wanted us to do.
Well, their whole goal was to get the ball back, even if we did score a touchdown, and have an opportunity, so we couldn't drain the clock, bring the ball out. Guys, I'm sorry. Both channels are like the echo is so bad. The speaker quality is so bad. I don't mean to remove anyone. Cool, be right back. I'm sure he's going to fix his mic, but hopefully Godfrey hops back on shortly. But it's a very ugly game for the Philadelphia Eagles, and as a whole, I'm hoping, yeah, it's still there. But I'm hoping that. Are you back, Godfrey? Are we good?
I'm back. Yeah. How do I sound?
You sound good. Everybody sounds better now. I don't hear no clicking, no sound, no. But I'm gonna pass the buck to you guys. We're the offensive coordinator, Godfrey. Where are you going with OC/head coach?
I'm gonna give them. I got to give them a C. And I mean, I just can't listen. I know they put up points, right? But I'm not looking at the totals here. I'm looking at what they didn't do. They didn't run the ball against the worst defense enough in the league, right? If your defense isn't playing well, right, you need to run the ball to keep them off the field, right? I mean, isn't that a good strategy? Am I wrong, fellas? And you got to help your D out. If you know you're short, if you got a player saying that Zach Cunningham coming back will fix the defense, and it's that big of a hole, let's keep these guys off the field. Let's help the defense out, right? Because they're not the strength of the team right now. And that's, I don't like the scheme. Some AJ said, concerning the Seahawks game and certain other games, like there's plays that him and Jalen came up with, right? Well, coach, reel them back in, right? You got to take what the defense gives you. Now, that 3-play sequence toward the end, I think everybody agrees that wasn't great. But then when you hear AJ talk about it, he said, well, listen, if people did their job and he didn't say someone's name, a certain individual, we could figure it out, was pushed out and blocked, he says that's a 30-yard touchdown. That's AJ Brown's words, right? So he's saying coach is taking the fault for him. And they're loving him for that. I get that. But at a certain point, they got to readjust what they can and can't do on the field. I think it's average. It's average. It's a C average. They should have just ran them over. Everybody in the NFL was running on the Cardinals, and instead they ran us over. And it just him not having players prepared, in a sense where, now you're telling me they're out there like, all right, coach, we think this is better. We're going to go off of this. No, this is the play we need to do. We haven't won many games in the last 4 games. This is what we're doing. Show some leadership. That's not leadership. That's rudderless leadership. Take a direction. Have some balls to be right or wrong. Can't ride the fence all season.
Okay. Let's move on to Jalen Hurts.
You guys hear me all right?
I hear you perfectly now. You sound great. Everything sounds clear now. Sorry, guys. Sorry for anybody listening for the audio quality we had a little earlier. Hopefully a lot more people will come join back. Dropped off a couple people. Now we have Godfrey's camera flipping again. Guys,
Yeah.
Let's go move on to Jalen Hurts. Cool. What do you give Jalen?
I'm gonna give Jalen a C. Those runs at the end, just sliding down instead of throwing the ball away because you're still the quarterback, can't do it.
Okay. What are you giving him, Godfrey?
I'm going to give him a B minus. I agree with somewhat with Cool there. But I think overall he had a pretty good game. I was happy with his performance as far as, running, passing, getting the ball to different receivers. Julio got a couple touchdowns, which was surprising. No one had that on their bingo card, I'm pretty sure. Not one, but two. But there's some, I'm with Cool there too. The slides, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. And I think Jalen, when I look at his play overall this year, what's been inconsistent is his timing of when to execute certain plays or do certain things, like go out of bounds or not go out of bounds, for example. Let's go deep or let's take what the defense gives you, for example. And I don't think he's been rhythmic the whole season.
I gave Jalen Hurts an A minus. He was the highest graded player on Philadelphia Eagles on PFF. He scored a 92. He was 18 of 22 in the game for 167 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a passer rating of 140. They had 6 total drives in that entire game. 6. They scored touchdowns on 3. They kicked the field goal on 1, and then they had the pick 6. They had 2 punts the whole game. If the Philadelphia Eagles defense shows up at all, the Eagles win this football game easily. 6 drives. I can't overlook that.
Yeah, for me, they dropped down to a B because when we needed it the most, they shit the bed. And here's the thing that's deceiving about the Eagles stats, right? And Jordan Mailata said it himself. There's 1 or 2 plays that seems to happen in critical drives every stinking time that sets them back and they're not able to rebound. An offsides here, a blown coverage here. Like that's what it's like. One of those things, like, would you rather lose all your games or just be in the middle or win them all? You know what I mean? And I feel like we're right in the middle right now, and they have the ability. That's what's so frustrating about this team, but they just shoot themselves in the foot so often, right? Jordan Mailata talked about he held onto a block too long and it cost him some yards. Might have cost him a drive, right? I mean, he called himself out about that. I mean, that's a pure example of how this team is. They just find the most inopportune time to not execute basic fundamentals.
I mean, if you take out the Hail Mary, right? And I told you that the Eagles ran the ball 23 times. They passed the ball 23 times. I told you that Hurts threw 3 touchdowns, only had 5 incompletions, and had 140 quarterback rating. Would you have said, and they scored 31 points? Would you have thought they won or lost?
24.
The Eagles team scored 31 points.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the offense.
I'm just reading you blind resume. Would you think they won or lost?
Yeah, against the Cardinals, I would have thought they won. You know what I mean? But
I got to be honest. I would have needed to know what the defense did just because I saw what happened with the second half against Tyrod Taylor the week before.
Yeah, we were up 21-6 at the half, right?
Yes, 21-6 at the half.
I mean, I was thinking the game was over. I mean, I shouldn't do that with this defense, but I was like, okay, we're going to come out and it's just, I can't explain it, but this team is, that's why it's so frustrating. I'm feeling optimistic because of their accountability, but everything's talk, man. I need to see them put it to action on the field. Do it. Be about it. I don't want to hear this fucking meeting talk. I don't want to hear, oh, this, player said this, or we don't like the play call talk. Do it. Be a professional. Do it, man. And everything's fucking talk. Like, do it.
Okay. Let's get into the New York Giants. Let's get into the midgets. We're playing up in MetLife, place where a lot of players get injuries. It's a field.
Knock on wood right now, Gene. God damn it. Knock on some piece of wood.
I don't need to. The Eagles put themselves in this position to have to play this week. They're going to have to play. I don't care what Nick Sirianni says about resting players. You have to play. You have to have some momentum going into the playoffs. The New York Giants have been playing actually good football with Tyrod Taylor. They've looked really good. Got to talk about that. What do you think the key to victory is for the Eagles defense versus the Giants offense? Cool. I'll start with you.
Cover somebody. Hit the quarterback. Get some sacks. Get some hurries. Wrap up and tackle. Fundamental football.
When you see a game in person and you're high up versus TV, it's a little bit different of a viewing angle. You could watch it later on. And when I was watching the Giants game in person, and I was seeing Shaq Leonard out there and them playing, they got to be disciplined in where they're at on the field. I just see too much sloppiness. And the reason why I say that is, Tyrod Taylor, yeah, he's got an okay arm, but he's got to extend plays. He's a capable quarterback of running the offense, and you can't. That's a perfect example. Like the end of that game, what happened? Was that Reed Blankenship, if I'm not mistaken, with the Darius Slayton touchdown? Yeah. I mean, it's basic fundamental. Get out of your break earlier. Play football. Like, I hate to sound vanilla with it, but like all they got to do against this, because this is not a good team, play their game. Like, let's get after their quarterback. I mean, that O-line's not good on the Giants. Like, we need some sacks. We need to play the way they need to play the way they're capable of. You know what I mean? And all they got to do is play disciplined football. Don't shoot themselves in the foot. Be where they're supposed to be on the field. Play your assignment, and mistakes won't happen. I mean, look at the Giants game. It was mistakes. Special teams. Darius Slayton catching a bomb that he had no business catching, right? They knew at that time of the game that they had to be going for points because they were that far down. Like, and not giving up free points. Let's stop doing that, right? Like, the pick six, that wasn't Jalen's fault, but Dallas, like, I know you fell, but listen, man, you got to be prepared for that. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm done with the excuses. If Dallas can't handle our field, man, I'm scared, with the MetLife field. So he better handle that better.
I think it'll be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. The Eagles defense has a challenge ahead of them, 5-man defensive front. I agree with Stu. I think they should need to play a 5-person D-line. Make sure they're containing Tyrod Taylor and making him beat you with his arm.
You get Tyrod Taylor throwing on the run, in my opinion, and watching that game, you're not going to get as accurate as a passer as he can be, and that is going to be harder for them to make plays. You know what I mean? I just, I think he's a capable quarterback, but like you make him uncomfortable, right? Like, get some QB pressures in there. Like, Josh Sweat needs to show up. Like, I need Hassan Reddick, to show up. I'm just saying, like, this is one of those games where it's a gut check game. It shouldn't have mattered. This game on the schedule, everybody thought was going to be a nothing game. Well, now it's not. It's not a nothing game. I mean, they played the Rams tough. I watched a lot of that game. The Giants are rolling.
The Rams very tough.
They would have won that game if the field goal kicker didn't miss. I mean, they played them tough, and the Rams have been playing good football too. So don't think the Rams just stunk. They had a reason to play last week as well. Giants don't really have a reason to play. They're just playing for pride. And the thing about a team, and this is why I was kind of scared of the Cardinals, not because I thought they were a great team. They're playing. They don't have anything. They're playing with. We have nothing to lose, right? Like, when the Eagles only got that field goal, I was like, oh shit. That they don't have any fear in their hearts because there's no playoffs on the line. There's an advantage to playing like that. They're playing with house money. It doesn't even matter to them. They want to. They're just playing ball. You know what I mean? So there's no pressure on them. So listen, that's a wounded team is hard to beat sometimes. And when we went to overtime, man, I was like, oh boy. Not overtime. I'm sorry, but when you know what I mean. When I'm feeling that way about the Giants too. Like the Giants aren't, they're not a good team, but they're not laying down, man. They cannot take this team lightly. I don't think they will.
I don't
But
think they're taking anybody lightly, bro. They just lost to the 3-12, now 4-12 Arizona Cardinals. Well, what do you think?
There's a lot of things you can say, but I'm gonna boil it down to this. Very simply, we got to get out there and we got to really play. Like Jalen's got to take what's given to him. Don't worry about trying to make the big plays if they're not there. Control the ball by running it. Right? Run the ball. Run the ball. When you're not sure what to do, run the ball again. Run the ball until it does not work consistently. That's an edge that I feel like we haven't used all season. It should have been used more against Arizona. It should have been a run-heavy game plan from the jump. Worst running defense in the NFL, and we didn't take advantage of it. That's the kind of tomfoolery that makes me concerned because there just seems to be a heavy disconnect at the top. The brain trust, the coordinators, the guys who are calling the plays, I feel like they're idiots. So I feel like the players have to overcome the other team as well as your poor play calling in order to have a chance to win. So they're going to go out and be like, piss on those dudes. They don't know what's going on. We got to do it ourselves if we want to go somewhere. I feel more confident. If they are going to continue to follow the playbook of a guy that has an elementary playbook, I'm sitting watching the game at the sports bar. Fans of other teams are telling me what the plays are. And I'm just sitting there with my head down because I'm like, that's the play. I know what's the play just like you do. You have to be better than that. Over 95% of our snaps are from shotgun.
No, I was just going to say that.
Why? All the things that we're doing offensively are asinine, and we still have as many wins as we have.
The only reason 95 and not 100 is because they run the tush push under center.
I know. It's really yeah, that's the only reason. I've seen maybe 4 times this year where we ran regular plays that weren't.
Jalen Hurts took all his plays at Oklahoma out of shotgun and takes most of his plays from the Eagles out of shotgun. He's comfortable out of shotgun. That's what he is.
He was comfortable last year and he wasn't in shotgun all the time.
He was in shotgun all the time last year.
Not all the time. He had some plays under center too. He wasn't in shotgun the whole time last year. It wasn't 95% of the time.
Okay.
I feel like the shotgun thing is more of a trend in the NFL. It's been like that for a while. There's a lot of teams that are just running. I mean, you don't see the days of I formation anymore, or the running backs are deep. Like it's just. I wish they weren't, but when you look at our team, man, the shotgun thing is kind of frustrating too. And I think sometimes when you have to run out of shotgun, it limits play design as well.
Oh, by the way, the one time they did, one of the 2 times they did punt the ball, it was on right after that Devontae Smith. I wouldn't call it a drop. It wasn't an easy play, but we've become accustomed to Devontae Smith making that catch. So yeah. I get it. I just kind of wanted to bring that up and put perspective on. I felt like Jalen played a very good football game, and I feel like Jalen continues to play that way, and we start improving some of the play calling. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles offense will be fine. My biggest concern with this team comes defensively. Now, lucky for the Eagles, they don't. New York Giants do not have a quarterback that can dice you up passing short, quick routes. He just doesn't. He's not that guy. You're not going to have to worry about Tyrod Taylor dicing you up in the short game. Kyler Murray literally diced them up, and I thought that was insane. Kyler Murray, but he feasts over the middle of the field. We talked about that. We talked about that last show when we said 75% of his passes, targets, were in between the seams, and every time he ran a pass to the outside, it was a quick out. It wasn't something, and that one pick six that he overthrew, the receiver ran the wrong route or he threw the wrong route.
He audible to the inside, I believe, on that play. He meant to go to the inside. I think Kyler Murray, where he wanted to throw it, the receiver, he was picking them apart, man, and that's surprising to me. I agree with you. The defense is the number one concern over the offense. I just think at the end of the day, they're it's just this team's in crisis, whether people want to admit it or not. I mean, I'm feeling optimistic that they're coming together, but man, there's been a couple weeks after they had some losses where they should have come together already. The Seahawks game should have been that was bad. I mean, I could forgive him for the 49ers. I could forgive him, for losing in Dallas. But the Seahawks game, man, I was like, wow. And then you think that's the pinnacle of bad losses, and then they upped it, and they said, let's lose to Arizona. That was probably one of the ones, even though the game was an important round, like, I didn't want to see Gannon come here and win. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
It was one of the worst losses I've ever experienced as an Eagles fan. I mean,
Yeah,
it was one of the worst losses I've ever experienced as an Eagles fan. It was definitely the worst Eagles regular season loss I've ever experienced as a fan.
Yeah, it was bad.
Are you typing, bro?
Me, I'm not typing.
Okay. Just hear keys clicking. Guys, Eagles offense versus the Giants defense. What are your keys to victory? You said run the football, DeAndre Swift.
I also take what's there. Stop trying to force what you want and take what's there. Read the defense. Pre-snap read the defenses, and take the plays that are there.
Yeah,
that's what has to happen.
They got to run the ball, and they ran it against the Giants 2 weeks ago. But the problem is they need to run it in a manner where they're setting up the pass with play action, and I don't see that. And when I was watching the Giants, they were like, we are not letting AJ Brown get over top. They weren't. They were like, we're not letting that happen. They were scared to death to bring that safety up to the line. Like, they were not doing it because of that. And I'm watching it. I'm watching it happen. And you got to suck that safety in and run that ball and set up the play action. Like, I run to set up the pass. I mean, I know it's not a novel concept, but that's what they need to do. I believe they have to pass, but they could run against this team. This team can be had, right? We know this. We've seen this team, but Thibodeau's playing well. They're playing above their heads right now on that D. They're not as bad as people think they are on defense, the Giants. And I think you gotta approach it by I want to see some play action from the Eagles. I want to see them set up the pass with the run, not pass to set up the run, because that's what they're doing. Let's pass, let's get ahead early, and then let's run the ball. But that's not working.
They were throwing the ball a lot versus the Rams, and Tyrod Taylor's 27-41, 319 with a touchdown and a pick. They only ran the ball 20 times, so they were throwing the ball a ton.
Yeah.
Let's get a score prediction for the game. What do you guys got?
I'll go Eagles 28, Giants 24.
Okay.
Damn. Why are you gonna make me uncomfortable like that? Cool. I'm gonna go. I think the Eagles gonna put up 31 points this week. I think Eagles 31-20.
Eagles 38, Giants 3.
Woo!
I think the Eagles blow them out. I think it's a get-right game. I think they get right going into the playoffs. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to play their best game of the season this week. I am super excited about this football game. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to get right this week and then head into the playoffs and get our hopes up. I don't know if it's going to be getting our hopes up for nothing or if it's going to be getting our hopes up for a run, but I feel like that they're going to get a lot more people to buy in after this week, and I'm calling the blowout now. I think this is an absolute slaughter. I think the Eagles stomped the Giants. I don't think the game's close. I don't think it's ever in doubt. I think the Eagles have everybody back defensively, and I think they head into the playoffs on the right foot.
I would love for you to be right, sir. I would love to be wrong on this one. I would be so happy to be wrong.
They get Zach Cunningham back, right?
Cunningham's back. Slay is back. Vontae Maddox the second week after his injury. I feel like this is the game the Eagles get it together defensively.
Are they missing anybody?
I would love for them to just be average defensively in the past, right? You don't even have to be great. Just be average. Don't be cheeks. Just be, solid.
I don't think Devontae's playing. I'm pretty sure he's not playing. Hassan Reddick, he shouldn't play. No, I agree with you. But as far as anybody else, the 3 DMPs today were Jordan Davis, Hassan Reddick, and Devonta Smith. Everybody else is either a limited participant or higher.
Who are they bringing up from the practice squad as a receiver if he doesn't play?
They don't need to bring anybody up.
Just going to go Quez, Zacchaeus, and AJ?
And Julio.
And
Julio. That's right. I mean, listen, we'll see how that works, man. We talked about it at the beginning of the season, Quez. Like, that's another thing that's really on my nerves about the Eagles.
Oh man, I'm gonna answer your question by saying no.
Yeah. I don't
because the Eagles are already in the playoffs. The Eagles should let the young guys play now before the playoffs. No, I think the Eagles should play who they're going to play in the playoff.
Yeah. The young guys should be part of their rotation, but not just, we already in the playoffs, so let them just play.
Yeah, I think listen, Howie Roseman, is horrible at drafting receivers. Anybody could hit. My mom could have drafted Devontae Smith and hit on him. Okay, I'm not giving him he really pulled a nugget out of nowhere with Devontae Smith. I mean, we will all agree he'd be a quality receiver probably wherever he went, right?
I mean, we all thought Justin Jefferson would be a quality receiver too when we see what he did.
Yeah. Well, Rager, Quez, he was a 5th-round pick, so I'm not saying you got to hang your hat on that. There's been a lot of picks by Howie, and I'm not like his results a receiver. And I look at teams like the Rams, right? Puka, 5th-round pick. Even outside of that, I'm talking about scouting. Demarcus Robinson off the trash heap has a touchdown 4 weeks in a row. Younger guy, has some speed, played an Andy Reid system, knows the offense. There's people like that out there. I'm not saying they need to sign people like that, but there's a reluctance or unwillingness to bring people like that, I think, into that receiver room, and I just don't get why. They need more depth at that position. Because Quez, I'm sorry, he's not a good receiver, and that wasn't a part of the equation last week. But, Devontae Smith being out, I'd rather have a Demarcus Robinson on the team. Guys like that are out there.
I'd rather have Zacchaeus actually get to play.
I'm with that, too. I like him. I like him. But I'm just saying.
And then Kobe's active now, too, so you got 5 receivers still active, technically.
Yeah, I think that Howie, we were really high on him at the beginning of the season, but I don't think he's done well with the depth piece of the team on both sides of the ball.
Well, I never completely bought into Howie, so.
I have a counterfeit green this week. Do you guys have one?
I have several, actually.
All right. So you want to give your several?
I'll go last because y'all might take some of mine, and that way I won't have to say it again.
Well, my first counterfeit green is Marcus Hayes. You cannot write that report on AJ Brown and be that source that writes that report, and then when he speaks to the media, you're a ghost. You have to show face. You have to be able to. You cannot not show up to that. You can't do that. So, in my personal opinion, my biggest counterfeit green this week would be Marcus Hayes.
That's I was wondering about that too, because I did see that article. I didn't get to read most of it, but I was like, wow, it was funny as I heard him talking on the radio.
He doubled down on it today too. He said that AJ Brown said he had no issues with the Eagles play call, and then he cited an example that time in Seattle when he and Jalen Hurts ignored the play call, improvised, and called a play that lost the game.
Well, I mean, AJ copped to that though. I mean, he said that, you guys are on Nick, and that was us. You know what I mean? He said Nick was pretty much covering for him, which made Nick Sirianni look like a big fat liar. And that leads to my counterfeit green. Nick Sirianni saying I'm an honest guy. I speak the truth. BS. You got exposed for being full of it through your players, through what you say. No, man. Listen, I don't want to hear about Flowers. I don't want to hear about any of that other stuff. It's counterfeit green. Don't say you speak honestly. It's coach speak just like anybody else. You're no different. I mean, and when you hear AJ talk, and I'm happy with AJ, by the way. I think AJ, I think a lot of people, we want emotion from these athletes, and when they give it to us, we hold it against them a lot of times, and that's why. And I felt like that's kind of what was a little bit of what was going on there. But when you hear him talk, it basically confirms what I'm saying about Nick Sirianni. He was straight up lying for him.
Yeah, he was to protect his players. Cool.
So my first counterfeit green is to AJ Brown and all the players have been coming out saying that they support Nick Sirianni and they believe it's his play calling. You're lying. Stop the cap. My second counterfeit green is Nick Sirianni as a person to develop players, as a head coach, as a guy who picks coordinators, as a guy who does anything but you jump around yelling rah, rah, rah. For you masquerading as a head coach for now your third season in Philadelphia, that's a counterfeit green as well. I also have a counterfeit green on the defense as a whole. You promised us at least a decent defense, and you lied to us. And then I also have a counterfeit green on myself for believing that this team was going to do better than the streak than they did.
You calling it counterfeit? Man, the FBI is gonna be in here. We got so much counterfeit. Jesus. I mean, yeah, I'd say the Nick Sirianni thing. Like, I there are things I question. I'm not on the let's get rid of him bandwagon, but I do think
There's the head of that bandwagon.
I'm a big believer in stability is what makes good franchises. I don't know if I'd be willing to pull that trigger yet, but I will say
Stable idiot is not going to build a franchise. A stable idiot isn't.
Yeah, and I mean, is he picking his coordinators? Is he not? I don't know, man. Like, I guess after winning the Super Bowl,
Yes,
you
the
think
Eagles
he'd
would
be
be in
able
a
to.
better spot.
Yeah.
With Doug EP as their coach. The Eagles would be in a better spot.
So my
But see,
only,
people
the
say
only thing
that-
about that, man, is the guys that he wanted to bring in coordinators may be worse than what Nick actually brought in.
Sure. All right, guys.
I mean-
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
If you didn't watch Eagles Elite last night, you might want to go watch it. We had a good time exercising our frustration on camera and kind of getting it out so that we could prepare ourselves for hopefully what's going to be a decent playoff run.
Godfrey, any final thoughts, brother?
Hey, man, listen. We don't know, enjoy watching the games. The reason why we watch them is we think we know what's going to happen, but we don't.
Well, I'm going to enjoy watching this Sunday because I think the Eagles turn it around. And let me be your beacon of hope. Let me be your voice of reason. I've been negative on this show for 5, 6, 7 weeks, and I feel this sense of optimism coming around. And I'll tell you right now, man, I've never been sold so much after listening to Oppressor. Hopefully he doesn't make an ass out of me, but A.J. Brown sounded to me like that team's taking a turn. That's all we got for you this week. Cool McCain, Eagles Elite Podcast. Make sure you listen into what they did last night. D. Godfrey taking it deep. And I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzek, and we